Our next speaker, QuHarrison Terry, is a growth marketer at Mark Cuban Companies, a Dallas, Texas venture capital firm, where he advises and assists portfolio companies with their marketing strategies and objectives. Previously, he led marketing at Redox, focused on lead acquisition, new user experience, events, and content marketing. QuHarrison has been featured in the Huffington Post, Xconomy, and Cointelegraph, and is a 4-time recipient of LinkedIn's Top Voices in Technology Award, joining us today for a session on an intro to the 7 types of NFTs and case studies in each category. Please welcome QuHarrison Terry back to Texylvania.
Yo, what up, what up, what up, what up? It's been great to be back at Texylvania. For the people that are just watching me for the first time, I just gave a presentation on just my overall thoughts on the future of NFTs. And now we're about to get into what I think the next, 7 types of NFTs that we've seen to date are. Give me 1 second. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we will then get into it. This will be a fun presentation, and if you have questions or thoughts, please just drop that in the chat. Trevor and the Texylvania team will let me know, and we will be able to make sure that any questions you have get addressed. So without further ado, I want to talk about the 7 types of NFTs. Let me see. Okay, cool. So every type of NFT offers something unique, right? Whether you're a collector, creator, or just someone that's just trying to understand what an NFT is today, understanding the different categories of NFTs on the market is probably the first step that I would recommend anyone that is asking themselves, how do I get involved with NFTs? And this will allow you to better understand your goals and KPIs. It'll better understand and articulate the ideas that you want to share, and oftentimes the content that you want to collect, right? So if you know what type of NFT you're most interested in, and you're just doing this as a personal endeavor or hobby per se, then you can quickly just kind of say, I'm only going to look at these projects. The first project or type of NFT that I think a lot of us are familiar with are avatar NFTs. Now, these are profile picture collections. That's what a lot of people on the social web have kind of ascribed these to be. So an avatar looks like a Bored Ape Yacht Club. It looks like a CryptoPunk. It looks like any of these 10K projects where you have a bunch of different quirky 8-bit, hand-drawn or like generated personalized avatar where your profile picture can be changed and swapped. And so avatar NFTs offer a way to become instantly recognizable as a part of an unspoken online social club. And the second type is going to be this art or media. What I like to ascribe these NFTs to be is more so, like digital artists selling their one-of-one artworks to their supporters. And you'll see that here where, this is no different than Van Gogh making an artwork and selling that in a gallery, and then someone saying, hey, here's a museum that can display that work. NFT art gives digital artists the ability to create such scarcity around their work, around their outputs of creativity. And this is what I think is most fascinating about NFTs, is the fact that we're really getting a chance to do a deep dive on what digital scarcity means. The third type of NFTs that really are resonating with people today are trading cards. You're seeing a lot of digital collectibles just enter the scene. Everything from, curio cards to NBA Top Shots to even some interesting stuff that's happening with the I can't think of the name of that project, but there's a lot of projects here. I can't even keep up with them. But if you tap into the collector behavior that's already existed in previous collections, such as sports cards and Pokemon cards and trading cards, you can create these digital trading cards, which offer more transparency around, what's rare, what's been minted, what's or created, and how do you play with the cards, or how do you envision yourself, working and utilizing these collections. I think this is the NFTs that most people are familiar with, because these trading cards actually start to they kicked it all off. Like NBA Top Shot was like the first like, massive project that a lot of people knew about. And then, also Crypto Kitties, which isn't necessarily a trading card per se, but it's a game. Virtual estates is the fourth type of NFT that really resonates when you start to think about, what are NFTs? And I think virtual estates is, acquiring and developing land in virtual worlds, also known as the metaverse. And you have so many different destinations that are doing this: Crypto Voxels, Decentraland, the Sandbox, and the world's next real estate moguls are scooping up valuable land in virtual worlds. Yes, there are going to be virtual real estate brokers in the future, and they're already starting to exist today. And what they're doing is they're anticipating the next wave of real estate appreciation. And it might be hard for us to conceptualize it because we're so far removed from this digital estate building and exploring. But kids of today's generation are already familiar with what it means to explore and grow in a digital world. When you look at their activities in Minecraft and Roblox and Fortnite even, these are virtual worlds where they are largely interacting with other people. They're experiencing and creating in a space where they get to know very intimately what a virtual world is. And we are just now getting to that as I would say the current working generation, the practitioners per se. And so some of these concepts might sound a little outlandish and out there, but in 10 years time, even ourselves will probably be having remote work sessions and meetings in some of these virtual estates. So the fifth one is going to be interesting because this is like, our digital physical goods, like, where we're going to be collecting and building customizable assets that we can equip in virtual world. And, virtual worlds such as Decentralands give players a sandbox environment to create their own spaces and items. So we talked about the land there, but they also allow you to bring in digital physical goods, which translate real world objects into the virtual economy. I actually am pretty bullish on this. If you look at my personal NFT collection and some of the NFTs that I've created, I've been really big on creating virtual sculptures and virtual 3D objects that I think are like, you can take the OBJ files and pull those properties into another universe or another world, because I think that, that interoperability, that layer is going to be the coolest thing about NFTs, right? The fact that you'll be able to take it with you and it's a part of your digital identity. I think even when we look at, the profile picture avatar NFTs and you see where those are today, when you look at how you can take that profile picture with you to across social platforms, it's not much different than these digital physical goods. And so as that becomes more of a norm, we'll start to see the people that are already flexing on, social media with their digital profile avatars starting to adopt, digital objects that they also take across these metaverse and digital platforms. So the sixth NFT type that I wanted to cover today is called access-based NFTs. Access-based NFTs are essentially your ticket to VIP experiences in the digital or physical world. And, the ones that come to mind are the MetaKey, VFriends, and Metaverse HQ. And these NFTs have one thing in common. They're access NFTs that are mostly used to create these exclusive experiences for fans, or allows owners to operate in these like elite social groups where the value of the network pays returns through collaborations, connections, and sharing knowledge. It's not much different than a country club or anything of that nature, right? And last but not least, because I know we're short on time, and so I want to try to catch us up a little bit. Blockchain games. I talked a little bit about this in my earlier presentation, but I want to elaborate on it a little bit more. So you have these games where you can collect in-game assets and compete with your NFT assets too. So what I mean by that is in Axie Infinity, you can actually battle your NFTs against other people's NFTs. In F1 Delta Time, you can actually race and build cars. In Zed Run or Loot for Adventurers, these are games that you can participate in And they are some of the stickiest use cases of NFTs, bringing the familiar level of gaming and competition with the ability to actually own and improve your in-game assets. And to me, this is probably the use case that we'll see manifest the quickest and become super established. And then we will see other industries and other just domains start to replicate some of the functionality within these games. Now, before I close out, this isn't an exhaustive list of every type of NFT, mainly because every day new creators break into the boundaries and create entirely new ways of thinking about NFTs. But as time goes on, the creators that incorporate more and more of these experiences into one NFT project will have the best shot at standing the test of time. And, I think optionality is where all of this is going to end up. It's going to be very similar to smartphones in 2021 versus looking at smartphones in 2013 or even smartphones in 2008, right? Smartphones in 2008, the app stores weren't great. You didn't have a lot of optionality. You had to rely on the manufacturer of the devices to kind of give you a software experience that was competitive. You jump and fast forward to 2013, we started to see some of the massive hits kind of be there, right? Like people were familiar with Angry Birds and they knew kind of the gaming spectrum on the iPhone and Android. People were familiar with the social networks that would go on to kind of create, exclusive digital destinations right there in people's pockets, right? We jump forward to now, you have so much optionality on just your mobile device, and developers have so much optionality on how to create and entice people to stay within their worlds. And so that's what I think the future of NFTs is. I talked about that earlier. I'm also now talking about, the 7 types of NFTs. I'm happy to discuss any or answer any questions before we go. But otherwise, I do want to keep us on time here.
Yeah, thank you, QuHarrison. I do have a question for you, a couple questions from the chat.
What's up?
So Jose asks, what would be the risk of virtual estate? And do you need it to make it available for different platforms?
Yeah, so that's a great question. As a person that has owned virtual estate, I think right now it's very, very future thinking proposition. So I don't think that there's a lot of real utility in it today. I think that this is much more an exploratory use case, but I think we'll probably see a lot of marketing campaigns derive from people that own and build very unique experiences. What I did see not too long ago is there was an NFT gallery in Chicago where they used crypto voxels to recreate their actual gallery in this virtual world. And it was a 1-for-1 replica, but it was also interactive. So the same stuff you could buy in the actual gallery was the same stuff you could buy online, which was cool because it kind of had me thinking like, damn, I could go in the store, I can buy it and I would get it in my wallet, or I could go on the store virtually, I could buy it and I could get it in my wallet. And effectively what they created is this 24/7 store. But the virtual store has some things that the physical store doesn't. When I was walking through it, there were hidden spaces, kind of like if you're playing a video game and you unlock that secret chamber and you go in there and you're like, oh, wow, I'm on this bonus level. They had that within their store. So if you were exploring and you got to the secret nooks and crannies, they had like a backstage and a upstairs and a podium and it was a very immersive experience. I spent maybe 15 minutes, just walking around in this virtual store per se. And it got me to thinking that, virtual real estate is not going to be a one-to-one, like, hey, we're going to go here, we're going to, all meet and like sleep and, congregate and like do all this stuff. What it's going to do is it's going to create destinations that NFTs can really be, at the forefront and center because the destination itself is inherently digital. You have to start thinking in that direction right now if you want to create something that's going to have massive impact. So even though it's really, I would say, even though it sounds really crazy, like I'm not even going to try to hide it. Like this whole concept of, hey, meet me in this virtual world. It's not much different than what we're doing right here is, Techsylvania used to be a physical conference.
Right.
Things changed. March 2020 happened. The world still hasn't caught back up with where we were before then. But what we've done is we've evolved, we've adapted. And so we've already accepted the fact that virtual remote destinations are a thing. It's not going to hold our attention forever to be on a 2D voice chat, right? And in the same way you have a house party in the real world, and you want to have a nice island in your kitchen, or you want to have crazy Sonos speakers so the experience is comfortable and people can hear the movie or music you're playing. It's going to be the same way in the virtual world. People are going to have crazy headquarters and establishments where their team members can hang and chat if they no longer want to do this 2D thing. I don't think this will be a world where it doesn't exist. It's kind of like Skype existed alongside phone calls. There was a medium and a segment for both. We're going to have the metaverse exist alongside the internet as we know it today, because they're both good at different things for different reasons, right? If you want something that's fully immersive and just like takes you away and it's an escape from reality, metaverse like entities will probably do that. And that's going to be virtual real estate. If you want something that is going to function and you can use it on the go, mobile, wherever you are, you're probably still going to need, some type of website or digital destination with push notifications and has, a responsive nature so that you can access it on many different device types. And I don't think you're going to see just one or the other. It's going to be like, hey, we're accessible, we're available on all these different platforms. The same way apps were in the early 2008 to 2013. The iPhone and the Android devices came out in 2008. You have people adopting them. People are buying these devices. There's not a lot of apps in the first couple of years on those platforms. But then companies said, hey, we might need an app for that. And what did they do? They started to look at their products, their services, and they said, what's going to best fit at the use case for an app? We're going to do the same thing with virtual land and virtual real estate.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. That was actually, that was really easy for me to understand too. And I'm not so, I'm not so entrenched in the NFT universe. So there's a question from Juana here. And she just asked, could you just please enumerate the 7 types again quickly? And yes, which one do you feel has the most potential?
Yeah, so I'm not going to share the screens, but the first type I described was avatars. And avatar NFTs are basically profile picture collections with different hierarchies of different hierarchies of traits. So you think like CryptoPunks or the Bored Ape Yacht Club, right? The second NFT project that I mentioned, or the type of project that I'm seeing, is art and media. What you're seeing in that case is just digital native artists selling one-of-one artworks to their supporters and audiences, right? And so what fits that is if you create an NFT right now and you go to OpenSea, you mint something and you sell it, that is just an art or a media-based NFT. Even if you took a screenshot of something, and maybe you draw a picture, or like 2 weeks ago there was someone that wrote test on like basically a digital drawing, and then they sold it for $250,000. That's an art or media-based NFT. The third thing I talked about was trading cards. These are digital collectible cards that we're bringing into the digital. These are collectible cards that we're bringing into the digital world, and that we're seeing with like Curio cards or NBA Top Shot, and that just taps into behaviors that we've already been familiar with. Like, we know what collectors look like in the real world. Now we're saying, let's give them something to collect in the digital world. The fourth thing is virtual estates. So this is acquiring and developing the land in virtual worlds. This is different than my next topic, because I'm really just saying, look, there's going to be these metaverses. Companies are going to own these lands. There's going to be a company today that buys up all the land in the metaverse, and they'll be seen as the next Slack or Facebook or Salesforce, because they're going to be in these spaces where people's attention will ultimately be gathering. And even though how you travel or how you go around, all that stuff's being figured out, we will land somewhere. And I think the space will be valuable to some extent. So then my fifth concept was digital and physical goods. You're creating these digital assets that exist solely in these digital worlds that I just talked about, right? And those ideally have some type of interoperability standard, so you can take your asset from one world to the next world, and like you can kind of display all the stuff that you have. I think the sixth type of NFT that I'm discussing today is access-based NFTs. These are anything where you buy a ticket, or you get access to a community, or you get access to some exclusive newsletter. These probably are the most promising. as far as like businesses getting into NFTs and figuring out how to build a community. I think there's going to be some type of access-based NFT standard that just businesses are all going to adapt, because it makes the most sense. It's very straightforward. But the most promising in the final type of NFTs that I talked about was blockchain games. Blockchain games are video games where you can play to earn, and you can literally get paid to play video games, right? And you can collect these in-game assets that appreciate in value, but you can also compete with other players with those same assets. And there's just a whole immersive world and experience that comes with that. I think projects that incorporate, several of these entities and get it right, where they're not trying to do too much, but there's a balance, are going to be the NFT projects that we'll be talking about in the next few years to come.
Yeah, awesome. And thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
And we also really appreciate you thinking about us and getting us back on schedule after the technical difficulty.
Oh, no.
And so you do come back at what is it, in about 30 minutes?
Yes,
for
sir.
NFTs for utility versus appreciation, which
Yep.
will prevail. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, QuHarrison, for being back with us at Techsylvania, and we'll see you in just a bit, right?
Sounds good. Take care.
All right. See ya.